The movie 1917 begins in a beautiful green field. But make no mistake, this is not a peaceful land. This is war. This is the staging ground for a bloody battle. 2 soldiers are taking a rest. Their sergeant comes in and wakes up the one named Thomas Blake. He tells Blake to choose a partner and follow him. Blake chooses his friend, William Schofield. As Blake and Schofield walk to their commander's tent, they talk about how this will all be over and they'll be going back home by Christmas. Their sergeant takes them to the office of the general himself, which surprises Blake and Schofield. This looks like this is going to be an actual big mission. The general mentions Blake's brother in another unit called the 2nd Devons. Thankfully, Blake's brother is alive, but his entire unit is walking into a trap. The general shows them a map of the new information from aerial reconnaissance. The Germans have made a strategic retreat and are now waiting for the 2nd Devons. The 2nd Devons are planning to attack the Germans tomorrow at dawn. The general wants to stop them, but the Germans have cut the telegraph lines. So, he orders Blake and Schofield to get to the 2nd Devons and stop them. He gives them a letter with direct orders from the colonel there to stop the attack. Else, 1,600 men will be massacred by the Germans. The lieutenant tells them to cross the no man's land and into enemy camps. Blake and Schofield are worried that they will get attacked because it is daytime. But the general tells them that the Ottomans have already left. So, they leave on their journey. Schofield wants to wait until it's dark, but Blake, concerned about his brother's safety in the 2nd Devons, knows the risk of leaving late. So, he leaves immediately and Schofield has no choice but to follow. They finally reach the front lines, where there are more dead bodies than alive ones. Here, the atmosphere is tense, as the men had to face enemy bombing every night. Lieutenant Moriarty guides Blake and Schofield to a gap in the front lines, from which they may cross the no man's land. He also gives them a flare gun to signal if they get to the other side. And then, they enter no man's land. I think this is a good time to mention that this entire movie was shot with the illusion of one single continuous uncut take. Anyways, where were we? So, Blake and Schofield start walking across the devastated land. They immediately expect heavy firing, but no one shoots at them. On the way, Schofield accidentally hurts his hand on a barbed wire, and then he accidentally puts that same hand into a rotting corpse. They finally reach the other side and aim their guns at an empty trench. The enemies really have left. There, Schofield bandages his hand while Blake looks around. They find a bucket with fresh coals. The enemies left only recently. They continue looking around and find the pathways blocked, so they go through the underground. There, they come across the enemy bunks. They also find that the place is fixed with trap wires that set off some hidden bombs. Nothing happens to Blake, but Schofield is buried. Blake quickly takes him out and pulls him up, while everything around them starts coming down on them. Blake guides Schofield down the tunnel. They come across a gap on the floor. Schofield cannot see anything, and he has to rely on Blake's voice to make the dangerous jump. They finally scramble out into the open air. There, Schofield puts water in his eyes to remove the dust. Schofield bitterly says that Blake should have chosen someone else at the beginning. Blake is hurt to hear this. The two almost get into an argument, but they agree to continue their mission to save Blake's brother. Before continuing, Blake fires the flare to let the army know that they made it this far. As they go on their mission, for some moment, they forget the hell they're in and enjoy some genuine good laughter. Then, Blake asks Schofield why he never wears his medal. Schofield says that the medal is useless. He simply swapped his medal for a bottle of wine. They eventually reach a farmhouse. They check around and see that it has been abandoned. They don't find anything to eat, but they do find some milk. So Schofield fills up his canteen with it. Just then, they see a dogfight going on in the skies. 2 British planes against 1 German plane. The British manage to shoot down the German, but the German plane starts falling toward Blake and Schofield, who barely survives. The 2 of them save the German pilot from burning. Schofield wants to kill him, but Blake tells him to get some water for the German. As Schofield goes to get some water, he hears Blake yelling, "The German has stabbed Blake." Schofield kills the German and then tends to Blake's injury, but Blake's injury is too deep. Schofield tries to drag him to the nearest aid post, but Blake is in too much pain. Schofield keeps reminding Blake that they need to save his brother, but Blake has now lost so much blood that his face has started to go pale. He has given up, and he tells Schofield that his brother looks just like him, but a bit older. He starts getting delirious as he is on his deathbed. So, he asks Schofield to write to his mother and tell her that he wasn't scared as he lay dying. Eventually, Blake passes away. Schofield takes the general's command letter to the colonel. Then, he takes Blake's rings to give to his family. Just then, some British soldiers from another unit arrive. They help put Blake's body away. Then, their captain takes Schofield along as they are going in the same direction. Schofield takes the truck with the soldiers. They start telling funny stories to each other, but Schofield doesn't care. He is silently mourning for Blake. Suddenly, their truck gets stuck in the mud. Schofield tries to get it out, but the others don't really care. Schofield pleads with them, saying that he has to go. So, they all help him in pushing the truck and finally manage to free it. This time, they start talking to Schofield and his mission. Schofield takes this chance to put the general's letter in a special airtight metal box. Soon after, the truck stops. The bridge has been destroyed. So, Schofield gets off here. The captain comes to him and warns him that the colonel has a tendency to get into battle by ignoring orders. And now, Schofield is alone on this journey. To reach the 2nd Devons, he has to cross the ruined town. He starts crossing the damaged bridge, but suddenly, a sniper shoots at him. Schofield barely manages to get into safe cover. From there, he and the German get into a shootout. Schofield finally manages to shoot his enemy. Then, he quickly enters the house and goes to the room where the German was. There, they shoot each other. The German is killed. As for Schofield, his helmet saves him and he survives, but he gets knocked out unconscious for a long time. When he finally wakes up, he is weak and dazed. Also, night has already fallen. He walks out into the destroyed city, but his enemies start shooting at him immediately. They start chasing him, so he runs and hides in a basement. There, he finds a French woman who is also hiding from the Germans. When she sees that Schofield is injured, she helps him. It is also revealed that she has hidden a baby in a drawer. It's not her daughter, though. It's an orphan of the war. Seeing this, Schofield gives all of his food, drinks, and utensils to the woman and the baby. The woman says that the baby can only drink milk. Thankfully, Schofield has some from the farm. The woman looks at him like he's an angel descended from heaven. He shares a tender moment with the baby, but he has to leave. The woman wants him to stay, as morning is coming and the Germans will see him. But time is not with Schofield, so he leaves to complete his mission. On the way, he comes across a German who yells when seeing him. So, Schofield strangles him to death. The whole town is aware of Schofield now, and they chase him all over. But Schofield finally reaches the other side of town and jumps into the river. The currents take him downriver towards his destination. Schofield manages to hang onto a log, but he is so tired, he falls asleep right there and almost drowns. He wakes up and reaches a bunch of trees. Along with the trees are corpses. As Schofield climbs over these bodies, he starts panicking and cries. He then walks through the woods until he comes across some British soldiers sitting and listening to one of them singing a sad melody about a wayfaring stranger. Schofield, weak and dazed as he is, sits down to listen. When the song ends, he asks the men where the 2nd Devons are. "We are the 2nd Devons," they say, and the attack is about to begin. So, Schofield rushes to find the colonel, but for that, he has to get through the trenches. He goes through the trench, trying to find the colonel, but the other soldiers are of little help. Someone tells him that the colonel is around a bend 300 yards away. Schofield realizes the best way to reach there is to cut through the battlefield. So, he steps out into the open and starts running. All the other soldiers run towards the German line, but Schofield has a different mission. He finally reaches the colonel's camp. Some soldiers try to stop him, but he runs in. He presents the general's letter to the colonel, but the colonel ignores him, saying that he is winning. But Schofield pleads with him, so the colonel reads the general's letter. Then he reluctantly makes the command to stop the attack. Schofield is relieved. The colonel says that this week it's a command to stop. Next week, there will be commands to attack, and repeat. He then sends Schofield away to tend to his injuries. Schofield goes back to look for Blake's brother. He walks with the injured men to the medic camp. There, he yells out the name of Blake's brother, but does not find anyone. Finally, he sees a man who looks just like Blake, but older. It's Blake's brother, Joseph Blake. When Joseph hears that Schofield and Blake were sent there together, he is happy, thinking that he'll get to meet his brother. But Schofield regretfully informs him that his brother is dead and hands him his rings. Joseph is shocked, so Schofield lies to him by telling him that Blake's death was quick and he did not go through much pain. He also asks Joseph's permission to write to their mother. Joseph gives Schofield his blessing and thanks him for being there for his brother. Then, Schofield tries to go to a nearby tree, where he sits down and looks at pictures of his wife and daughters, with a message on the back which says, "Come back to us." Schofield closes his eyes and gets the rest that he truly deserves. And this is how this epic war drama ends. What a beautifully crafted movie this was, and what a technical achievement to shoot something like this and present it as a single take. For more unique and fascinating movies that you may not even have heard about, click on the videos on your screen. Also, do subscribe, like, and comment. Your one act will make a huge difference to us.